did a photo shoot. Actually did a couple of photo shoots recently where it was kind of brought home to me quite starkly that my physical limitations stop me from doing things in photography that I really want to do. And I thought there must be other people out there who've got similar issues with their physical ailments. And I wondered if I could, I'd talk about the issues I face and what I go through, and maybe kind of come to a position where we can kind of all help each other and help each other understand that we're not alone in our limitations, and it doesn't stop us being good photographers or even great photographers. But I'll touch on how that can kind of impact on the wider issues which run alongside, particularly being working class and into photography. When you put physical ailments into that mix, it can make it really difficult for you to find and do work. So, like I said, the shoots I did recently brought it home to me, because I'll give you a bit of context. I'm 53 years old now. When I was 17, I was working as a labourer at the steelworks in Rotherham, and I felt I was doing some labouring one day, and I thought, oh, my back hurts a little bit. But never really thought on it, because I was doing heavy labour, shoveling, lifting things, so I never thought much of it at that time. I was 17. And then gradually between then and 25, 26, my back got to a point where I sometimes could hardly move. It would seize up. The pain, I can equate it to like somebody sticking a knife in your back and twisting it right at the bottom of my spine. So I was 25, I might have just been 26. I decided I was going to actually get it looked at, because I thought I'm still in my prime. I was still a musician at that point. I was still finding my way in life and quite young still. But this back problem was starting to make me miserable, and it was certainly stopping me doing things. So I probably spent the next 10 years looking for answers, and we're not finding any. As is typical with doctors and the NHS, that's the National Health Service in England and Wales and all that. Now, I'm not slagging the NHS staff off per se, although a couple of doctors were abject wankers. What I'm saying is, if I'd have had a lot of money and could have gone private, I think I could have got my back semi-fixed a long time ago. But I was never in a position to do that, so I'm at the mercy of the NHS. So I started going for tests and scans and all that. And I got passed from pillar to post for 10 years, and I was sent to physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, electrocution therapy, all sorts of therapy. At one point, even the physio put me on a rack and stretched me and made it worse. And looking back now, I should have probably sued the fuckers for that. But anyway, so for 10 years or so, I got no, maybe even longer than 10 years, I got no real answers. And eventually, a good doctor I came across, I was living in Manchester at the time, sent me for an MRI scan. And finally, they came to the conclusion that I have something called degenerative disc disease. And if you don't know what that is, it's pretty self-explanatory. And the bottom 3 discs in my spine, I can never remember what they're called, L1, 2, 3, whatever they are, have wasted away, and there's no real shock absorber there anymore. It's just bone on bone, bone on nerve, and so that's where my pain comes from. But that pain spreads across all of my lower back and down my legs. And it got to a point where I couldn't be comfortable sitting, standing, walking. I was just in abject misery. I started being a photographer at this time. It was really limiting me to what I could do. If I did push myself and did a day's photography, if I got on the floor and did that stuff that photographers have to do, for days after I was just being miserable. But eventually it got to the point where it was my back pain. I was kind of getting used to that, living with back pain. Those of you that do understand that. But it was deferred leg pain that was really killing me. My legs constantly felt like they were being crushed all the time. So same doctor that had got me the MRI and stuff gave me some medication, which I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it actually works. And it stops that majority of that leg pain, so I was then able to function again. And I said to myself at that time, I'm not ever going to allow this to not let me be a photographer, or not let me do anything I want to do. I can still drive, I can still ride a motorcycle, I can still be a photographer, but within all that, I'm in a modicum of pain the whole time. I'm sitting here talking to you now. If I sit and concentrate, my back feels like it's got a knife in it, someone's twisting it. But over almost, 30 years plus, nearly 40 years of this pain being there, I kind of ignore it and get through. So that's a bit of a context for my back pain and how it affects me in photography. So I was doing a photo shoot last week, and I did one the week before with my stepson's band, the Kellows. Hopefully you'll have come across the Kellows now. Great young band, very enthusiastic, very talented, exceptional musicians for 17 years old. They've got a manager who is getting some quite prestigious gigs already. They recorded their first single a few days ago. That'll be out soon. So they're getting good. So I offered to do them some pictures. Why wouldn't I? So I did some at a gig a couple of weeks ago. I'll show you some in a bit. But straight away, immediately, I'm kind of like straight into just doing street photography with them, but almost immediately straight into limitations of I want to climb up lampposts, I want to roll on the floor, I want to do things that will get exceptional pictures or different pictures. And straight away, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I can't even bend down to get this shot. And that kind of played back into when I shot them again the week later in the studio. Same issue, different concepts, different ideas, but same issue of immobility or pain from immobility or trying to be mobile. Made it so I wasn't able to do some of the things that I wanted to do and wasn't able to create some pictures I wanted to create, which is a bit of a pisser when you're a creative photographer and you've got a head full of ideas. But I did get some good work. I did get some good pictures. I was quite happy with most of the pictures, as with the band. But it really brought it home to me that my whole photography career has been stifled in some way because of my physical limitations. Now, clearly, I know I'm overweight. Clearly, I know I'm not the healthiest. I was never going to be a marathon runner or a sports runner photographer. I was never going to be a pursuit, a windsurf photographer or whatever, mountain fucking air. I would none of that. Luckily, never interested me. So I'm not saying that I wanted to be, I don't know, some kind of endurance photographer, but I would like to be able to be a bit more agile and a bit more energized. And I could get some of that probably by losing a bit of weight, but I have lost weight. What are we talking? I've battled with my weight my whole life. Two reasons. One, I've got the family gene where we're all pretty well built. Three things actually. That I've got a thyroid problem. I've got hypothyroidism, so I don't process stuff very quickly and put weight on. But also, I eat too much. I like my food. I'm not going to deny that. But 10 years or so ago, 10 or 12 years ago, I decided to lose weight just to see. Lost about 6 stone, which is a lot. And then through exuberance and enjoying food, I've put that on over the last decade, put it back on. But in that time, I was the healthiest I had been since I was in my 20s probably. And my backache, my back pain, my deferred pain, all that was still as bad as it ever was, even without all that weight. So when a doctor says, lose some weight, tell them to fuck off. Ask them for some real answers, not excuses. Because I'm testament to the fact that losing 6 stone didn't make a blind bit of difference to the level of back pain or the level of immobility that I got. I couldn't move any more than I could when I was 6 stone heavy. So, yes, I know I'm overweight. Yes, I know I'm unfit. I get all that. But that's not what stops me from being the photographer I want to be or from being in the pain that I'm in. It's not that. It's